New way of seeing things, holography, a three-dimensional image produced by photography that uses laser light. But this window with a memory has had little practical application beyond decoration in pendants, logos, novelty stickers, even holography pornography. But the future looks brighter in the X-ray diagnosis of disease and in the service of the military. Holography and its potential. Mike's guest is Bern Simpson from Vancouver's General Holographics.
Bern Simpson, welcome. This is a fascinating area. I know that these holographs have been here for a while today, the ones that we have on the table we'll have a look at in a moment, and everybody in the studio has been fascinated by them. Now, you can tell us, first of all, what they are, how they're made. I think you can demonstrate that for us. Now, I'll hold these up, or at least I'll hold one of them up.
Well, these are three-dimensional images created with a laser.
That's what a holograph is.
That is what a hologram is. And the way they're created is one has an object, and one puts this object behind a piece of film, which in this case is just a glass plate.
Yes.
It can be also sheet film. And one takes the sheet film and exposes it with a laser. And the exposure comes down from above, exposes the film plate.
Yes.
And then one takes the film plate away and develops it.
Okay.
And after development, turning it around...
How do you develop these?
It's just normal development.
Is it really?
Well, it's a bit special.
You don't take it to the corner drugstore and say, have this back in a week?
No, these are developed on situ,
Okay,
actually.
let me hold this. And which camera
can you
now? Over
actually
here?
see that?
Okay. And we'll just have a test run in a minute here.
There you begin to see the image there.
Look at that.
And once it develops out, one has a complete recreation of the three-dimensional image. Whatever was behind that window is replayed back.
Really?
So it's like a window that remembers what it saw.
Yeah. Somebody
So think of it as a window.
Somebody described them as sculptures that float in space.
That's another good description.
Yes. It's not mine, but it's a good one. Now, let's see. We'll try a couple of these here so we can have a look at these and see what they look like. Okay, over here. Get a bit of a glare there.
So these are all reflection holograms where light is coming down from above, and the film takes that light and recreates that image, whatever was behind there before. In this case being a lion's head.
Yeah, okay. Now, let's have another look here. What is this?
That's a pyramid, which actually pops out in front. You can begin to see.
Look at the way that three-dimensional aspect comes out there.
So it comes right out in front
Are
there.
you getting the effect of this on the monitor? It's fantastic. And we have one more here. Will this... We have the unicorn. This is very appropriate, I think. That one doesn't come out quite as much. That's the pyramid. Now, what is the application for these?
Well, there's many industrial applications and commercial applications. We're looking more at the commercial applications now, where it follows the same as a picture. If you would hang a picture on your wall, you could also hang a hologram on the wall and have a similar application.
And is this related in a way to what we've heard about future entertainment in the home? For example, Michael Jackson will be there singing in our living room as a hologram.
Well, we are developing some techniques whereby we can take holograms of portraits, having motion picture holography, so you could actually have a Michael Jackson hologram, full three-dimensional, singing in front of you.
So it has a lot of application for home entertainment sometime in the future. Yeah, they're beautifully done. They are works of art as well, and I know that the Russians have made holographs of grams of some of their priceless artworks and are touring them around the Soviet Union, keeping the originals locked away somewhere.
That is another application. Priceless artworks are rather hard to take out and show to the public, so several holograms are made of them and shown as a hologram, so one has a full three-dimensional detail of the original artwork.
Well, Bern Simpson, thank you very much for giving us this look. It's a fascinating area.
Thank you.
And we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue in Vancouver. More to come. And the United States...
Now, the journal's arts and entertainment. Tonight, holograms. High-tech art goes commercial. David Hockney paints the stage, plus festivals from jazz to folk.
Holography, the marriage of science and art with high tech, is the preacher, and the offspring might well end up in your wallet or your mailbox. A hologram, simply put, is a 3D image created with a laser and mirrors. Once an esoteric art form, it's now in everyday use.
This past year, MasterCard sent out 15 million plastic credit cards that are rainbow-hued holograms. Visa's doing the same. And Hallmark has a series of holographic birthday cards. Here's a layman's look at holograms. It's eerie. Under a flat surface, a third dimension that is there and not there, a depth that disappears. Scientists say holograms will change the world. Artists say they already have. The hologram is as high as tech can get, so high it's become magic. This year, the magic went public. On the front covers of 13 million copies of the National Geographic magazine were 13 million tiny holographic eagles. Around the world, people who had never heard of a hologram had one to hold in their hands. And many of them were intrigued enough to look around for more. They had to look in some pretty out-of-the-way places. The people who run conventional art galleries don't care much for holograms. They think they're gimmicky, almost seedy, more trick than art. So the holographic artists have started to set up their own galleries. The first is Interference. It opened last winter in the basement of this old carpet factory in a not very artistic part of downtown Toronto. Some visitors to the Interference Gallery are bewildered by what they find there. Manager Sydney Dinsmore tries to straighten them out.
We get different reactions. We get people who think that we've rear-lit them and have built little maquettes into the wall. We have people who think that our white lights in the ceiling are lasers. And some people who think the shadows on the floor are the holograms themselves. You know, I sit in my office and listen, and when it really seems too science fiction, I come out and try and explain.
But it looks like science fiction from the start. Down the hall from the Interference Gallery, artist Michael Sowden sets up his laser to produce a hologram. Lasers are the essential tool of the process. They're the only light pure enough to make a hologram. It works this way. On the table, an object, which will be the model for the hologram, a laser, and a special photographic plate. The laser beam is split in two. The first beam is sent down the table through a series of mirrors until it strikes the object and is deflected back onto the plate. The second beam is aimed straight at the plate. When the two beams intersect, they create an interference pattern of light rays. This is what the plate records, an encoded image of the object. When the developed plate is illuminated, the recorded light waves are sent out to the viewer's eye. That creates the illusion that the object is still sitting behind the plate, a hologram. If you ask why this happens, you will get a half hour of optical physics theory, and you will be no better off. Artists like Michael Sowden are perfectly happy tramping around in the jungles of wave mechanics and particle physics. This is not how artists are supposed to work. Toulouse-Lautrec didn't care much about the chemistry of paint, but Sowden says that in classic times, artists knew as much science as the scientists.
It's really been perhaps in the last 300 years where the art and the science went off in slightly different directions. The obvious cliche, of course, is Da Vinci, who was both. And I think if you're going to be a holographic artist, you have to have a basic understanding of physics and light and optics, as well as being an artist in order to be able to communicate something.
The mask is an interactive hologram. It's made to be worn. Produced in the studio of Toronto artist Michael Page, it's the work of his associate Claudette Abrams. It's done with a mirror.
The viewer would position his or her face in the mask and see themselves in the mirror. And of course, with a little bit of juxtaposing, you can align your face with the mask quite accurately. I consider it a form of sculpture where the artist is being asked to deal with a space which is through the glass as opposed to the frame, as you would with a canvas or a photograph.
But pure art won't cover the rent or make the payments on Page's $30,000 water-cooled laser. In order to support his high-tech habits, Page has become an entrepreneur. For a price, he'll write your name in laser light on the clouds. And he's busy producing three-dimensional ads for a variety of clients. Your corner store is about to break out into a holographic hard sell. Still, at this point, there are technical limits. Artists want to make bigger holograms of bigger subjects. They want to work with abstract images instead of real objects. And there are problems with the colors. They're syrupy, artificial. The artists call it the jukebox color problem. For now, Canadian artists are finding ways to cope with the limits, and they have American allies who are trying to overcome them. This is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge, MIT, the Vatican of American technical research. MIT has put together a task force of scientists, engineers, and artists. They're using computers, lasers, and holograms. They're trying to develop a clear, true, convincing 3D image, an image to make an artist's mouth water, and they're getting close. Just when you think you have a basic understanding of all this, this group comes up with a hologram that breaks the rules. Stephen Benton is a professor at MIT and head of the holography research group at Polaroid. He and his researchers have produced a computer-generated hologram, one that will free artists from the need to use real objects for holograms.
In the last few weeks, we've moved into a new domain of holography where we no longer need to have a solid object in order to make a hologram. We can synthesize the scene using computer graphics. You can think of holograms as recording all the different perspective views from a scene in one exposure if you have the real object in front of you. In this case, we're constructing all those perspective views with computer graphics.
All the same, holography is still expensive and time-consuming and exasperating. Is it worth all the effort? Where is it going?
We're breaking through those frontiers of what is possible. We're learning every day new things. But that doesn't suggest that holography is going to be the final goal. It may teach us about the final goal. It may lead to it. It may be part of a hybrid of photography and electronics and holography that will be what our culture winds up with as a three-dimensional imaging medium. Everybody will take three-dimensional imagery in everyday life completely for granted. There may be a higher level of synthetic reality built into our lives. Maybe our media rooms will change and become environmental experiences that are summoned up at the push of a button. Who knows? I think there'll always be a place for a walk in the park at first hand.
Michael Page aims his laser out into the night over Toronto. A few years from now, he may be able to light up a holographic curtain at the end of it, a three-dimensional shape floating at the end of his light like a kite at the end of a string. The artists and scientists are hard at it. The world is about to look very different.